This is a great clip I wanted to share with you. So Mehdi Hasan is talking to Israeli professor Benny Morris and grilling him about Israel and telling him how terrible Israel is, blah, blah, blah. Not surprising for Mehdi Hasan, who is an Islamist and Islamist supporter, at least, and deeply hostile to Israel. But he opens it up to three of his panelists. Now, on the panelists here, on the far right is Diana Buttu, who is a Palestinian anti-Israel activist. Then you've got in the middle Daniel Levy. I'm afraid to say he's Jewish and basically is seemingly very, very hostile to Zionism. Very sad to see, unfortunately, some of those do exist among the Jewish people, a very small percentage, but they do exist. I think it's a little bit of a Stockholm Syndrome type thing, perhaps. I don't know, who knows? But anyway, the reason I want to share this with you is because on the far left is Emmanuel Navon, who is an Israeli political scientist, and he says a lot of what I think we need to start hearing in this whole conversation. He is uncompromising and expresses the truth about Israel-Palestine. Have a watch.
We have Diana Buttu, who's a Palestinian lawyer in Israel, former advisor to the PLO. Emmanuel Navon is an international relations lecturer at Tel Aviv University. Daniel Levy is a former Israeli peace negotiator, president of the US Middle East Peace Project. Diana, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about genocide, because we started the show talking about genocide. Benny very adamantly says it's absurd. There's many definitions. You're a lawyer. What do you make of that?
Look, Benny is exactly what I expect him to be, which is a genocide denier and a genocide apologist. Every human rights organization has been defining this as a genocide. We have the ICJ that has come out and said that there's plausible case for genocide, and yet we're to believe the Israelis, the only people who say that it isn't a genocide. Israel's allowed to be a colonizer. Israel's allowed to do what it pleases, and that Palestinians just have to sit by idly and take it. And this is the fundamental problem with Zionism. But we, Palestinians, are the ones who feel Zionism on our bodies. We've paid for it with our lives. We've paid for it with our land. This attempt to redefine Zionism will go nowhere, because you know, and the world knows, it's a colonial...
Hold on, I'm going to bring in all the panel. Then
it's a colonial...
Hold on. All right. Emmanuel, you teach international relations in Israel. Is there a recognition there that a lot of the world governments, allies of Israel, as well as the usual human rights groups, are very critical, at a minimum, of the way that Israel has prosecuted what's going on in Gaza?
Well, first of all, Diana said we're feeling Zionism. You're right, you're feeling it, because the only place in the Middle East where Arabs are free is Israel. And so the freedom that you have, Diana, is because the only country in the Middle East where there is freedom is the state of Israel, from which you benefit, and you should be thankful for it.
I'm not grateful at all.
Because the only country in the Middle East where Arabs can elect their officials, be elected, be judges at the Supreme Court, be president of a university, the only free country in the Middle East is Israel.
Daniel, do you want to respond to that?
I find it staggering that the gentleman to my right is telling the Palestinian citizen of Israel how she is experiencing the reality under which she lives. It's a staggering moment for me. Now, there were different strands to Zionism, okay? There was a cultural Zionism, there was a binational Zionism. This could have gone in different directions. From the perspective of 2024, 75 plus years in, the idea that this is just something benign doesn't match with the reality that has been lived. Now, I would say it's clear what this has meant for Palestinians, but I would argue it's not doing what was written on the tin for Jews either. I don't think either Israeli Jewish or global Jewish safety is best served by the actions we see day in, day out in Gaza.
Would you like to respond to what you've heard from the panel?
Please. I think there's a misunderstanding here. There is a separation between Israel and the West Bank, Israel and the occupied territory largely populated by the Palestinians and the State of Israel. In Israel itself, there is a rule of law. There is generally equality between the Jews and the Arabs, and you're misrepresenting it when you say that they are persecuted. And he's damn right in what he says. All the Arab states are dictatorships which do not allow their citizens any freedom. And Israeli Arabs enjoy most of the rights. They may be discriminated against in certain things, but they may enjoy certain rights which Jews do not have. For instance, not serving 3 years, wasting 3 years in the army, for example. Israeli Arabs don't do that.
We don't want to do
no,
yes.
it's fine.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure
right.
most Palestinians are desperate to serve in the Israeli military right now.
I'm sure you're right.
Thank you for leaving us from
one should be in pre-1967 Zionism in Israel, it was not a colonial enterprise. In the West Bank, there is a colonizing and colonial framework, which is even apartheid-like in its actual workings. But in pre-1967 Israel, that was not the case. And for the first 100 years or so of Zionism, it wasn't a colonial venture. It wasn't a venture of an extension of an imperial. Let me just define colonialism, since you're so busy defining genocide. Imperialism and colonialism were matched together, in which an empire sent its children to dominate and take over a third world country and exploit its riches and its people. This is not what Israel did until 1967.
Emmanuel, do you agree with Benny that there is a colonial aspect, an apartheid-like aspect to the occupied West Bank?
No. Zionism is a national liberation movement that freed its land from Arab Muslim colonialism. How do you think Islam expanded itself from the Arab Peninsula to Indonesia, from Indonesia to Morocco? Not from the Holy Spirit. This was conquest and colonialism.
This is exactly the problem, is that he's a racist. He espouses these racist views. That's the problem with Israel. Israel is a society, a country that is based on this idea of Jewish supremacy, and anything that they do or say goes, which means, therefore, that as a Palestinian who lives in that country, who is not enjoying any benefits of so-called democracy, that they get to espouse and tell me how I feel. They get to make statements like we are a fifth column, and they actually treat Palestinians as though they are a fifth column. It's very important, Mehdi, for people to understand that Israel came to us. We didn't immigrate to Israel. Israel's a colonial movement, and as a colonial movement, its aim is to not only get rid of Palestinians, but it's to transform the entire place, to erase and replace.
Okay, Emmanuel, I want to ask you this. Do you recognize the shifts that Benny was agreeing on at the start of this segment about what's happening inside of Israeli society?
Well, allow me to respond to what Diana just said. She's not telling the truth. What she's saying is not true. First of all, the Jewish country, I mean, there are over 190 states in the world. Most of them are nation states. It's not about supremacy. It is about national self-determination and freedom. Now, we didn't come to you. This is our land.
No, it's not.
This is a Jewish land.
The way that the state was created was
our
through
land.
the
And
ethnic
first of all, when you
cleansing
we came to you, it's not. I did not interrupt you.
Diana, let him finish his point, Diana.
Okay. First of all, when you say we've been there for hundreds of years, the word Palestine, it's an invention of British colonialism. It was invented in 1920. It did not exist under the Ottoman Empire. So when this story starts, it's a colonial invention. So when you say Palestine, and you can't even pronounce it in Arabic because there's no P in Arabic, that's why we say Philistine, right?
There's no J in Hebrew.
We did not conquer.
All right, Emmanuel.
So I love to hear it from Emmanuel Navon saying what it seemed like wasn't really being said, and saying the kind of things that I would say that, guess what? Israel is the Jewish people's national homeland, and the Palestinian national cause is a farce. It's a cynical ploy in order to destroy the Jewish state. It's not actually concerned with human rights and self-determination, because if it was, this would have been settled ages ago. If it was when Egypt and Jordan conquered Gaza and Judea and Samaria between 1948 to 67, they would have created a Palestinian state in those areas. They did not. They just held it down as their own illegally occupied territories. Had the Arabs won in 48 or 1967, they would have just all taken chunks of the land. There wouldn't be a Palestine there in the first place. And the Palestinian leaders themselves have said this is what's really going on here. It is cynical. It is a lie from beginning to end. And the Jews didn't go into the land and start returning to the land after 2,000 years of forced exile and dispersion. They didn't go into the land and kick everyone out and, say, put a gun to everyone's heads. That's not what happened. The Jews started moving back there through legal purchases. And the UN actually said in 1947, we propose splitting the land in two. There can be a Jewish state for the Jews, and some Arabs can live there if they want to, and an Arab state. And some Jews can live there as well if they want to. There should be a Jewish state because historically the only nation state that's ever existed in this territory has been a Jewish state 2,000 years ago before they were forcefully displaced. There's never been an independent, unique Arab people or state here. There are Arabs who come from the Arabian Peninsula, but they live here, and for demographic reasons and democratic reasons, we'll create an Arab state as well. The Jews said, okay. The Arabs said absolutely not, because for them it is an abomination religiously to have Jews return to their ancient homeland in a land once conquered, I should add, by the Muslim world. So what do? They go to war. They wage war, a genocide against the Jews to throw them into the sea, and the Jews fight back, and in that war that they started, they get displaced. For them, this is about religion. It's not about politics. And they want to blame the Jews for this displacement. It's self-inflicted. And you'll find actually that every single time that the Palestinians have a grievance internationally about Israel, they reverse the cause and effect. They make it look as if the Jews do something wrong and they just resist. But it turns out that every single time the cause and effect is inverted. And if you don't understand that already, we've created a documentary that outlines this very clearly. It's called The Great Reversal. I'll show you a trailer for it right now. And if you want to watch the full thing, you can just click the link below in the video description. For decades, one idea has shaped how much of the world understands the Israel-Palestine conflict. Israel did something wrong, and the Palestinians simply resisted. Whether it's 1948 or the recent war in Gaza, the story is the same every time. Israel provokes, Palestinians resist. Israel oppresses, Palestinians fight back. This narrative dominates campuses, the media, and much of global politics. It feels familiar, it feels intuitive, and for many people, it feels true. But what if the sequence is backwards? What if the origin point and every major chapter that followed has been told in reverse? In the wars of 1948 and 67, in the collapse of Oslo, in the suicide bombings of the Intifada, in the rockets after Israel withdrew from Gaza, in the massacre of October 7th, and the global narrative that followed. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to expose the great lie that has reversed cause and effect, a narrative engineered to help the real aggressors erode Israel's legitimacy. We'll trace the conflict from its origins to the present day, revealing how at every stage the true sequence of events was inverted, how aggression was reframed as resistance, how defense was recast as provocation, and how a conflict rooted in hatred of Jews was deliberately twisted into a story that blames the Jews. Join us as we restore the story to the order in which it actually happened and uncover the truth hidden beneath a century of lies. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.